If you're into apocalypse games, confusing games, or the walking simulators, you've probably heard of DayZ. A mod turned full-fledged game with only one goal: to survive. There's no goal other than that. There's no big endgame boss, there's no cure, and there's no plot points. It's just you versus everything else. DayZ is an old game. It was actually its 10-year anniversary pretty recently. And sure, its visuals may not be Ragnarok level, but the new skybox and lighting engine really make an already decent looking game look better. And if you're the kind of person who thinks graphics makes a good game, you should probably click off this video. But why talk about this game a decade after release? Surely its heyday has been and gone. Well, DayZ brings in new players every day. Last year was one of its most popular years to date. Personally, I only started playing around 2 years ago. Before I started, I'd been debating if I wanted it for a while. I'd seen a lot about it online. But I always thought the price was super high considering how old the game was. So I never really bothered getting it. But then, somehow, miraculously, an influencer actually influenced me. He streamed the game, it was like a blast. The harsh conditions, the mechanics, and the people.
Help me, bro! Help me! Come here!
Why do I got the ugliest fucking character? Look at me, bro. What?
See if it was a zombie apocalypse and you went 4 years without any sex, would you fuck a zombie?
Fuck. If you, well...
I've gone my whole life without it, man. I think it'll be fine.
The social aspect was certainly the most appealing to me. At the time, I had a lot of strained friendships. It's always important to have a group of friends to fuck around in a game with, and not having that kinda sucks. Alright, we got the little personal anecdote in there. Your brain is now emotionally connected to the video till the very end. Especially if you're my friend. Or Jay Schlatt. Your game starts here, on the coast. If you're on Chernarus, that is. On Livonia, you spawn by a river separating north from south. For the sake of this video, and since these are the only 2 maps I've ever played, they'll be the maps we're gonna talk about. It can seem pretty calm at first, depending on the weather that is. The first thing you'll notice is you're hungry and thirsty, with these markers indicating those things. Frantically searching yourself, you can find a fruit on your person. Strangely specific fruit choices aside, you chow down on the first bit of food you find, but it's clearly not enough. The hunger bar is still yellow. The way the stats work in this game is if the bar is full and white, you're completely fine. If it's white but there's a gap, that means you're slowly losing that stat. Yellow means that stat is halfway down. At this point, you could start hearing your stomach growling or other things like that. Red means you were in desperate need of this stat, and blinking means you're gonna start losing health very soon. You could wake up in pure darkness on the coast, in which case your second starting item will be just barely useful. A glow stick. Snapping it to emit a radiant neon hue. It helps you see a few feet ahead, but helps anything else see you from space. See, this is a big part of the game I love, man. These items are completely optional to use and completely situational too. I mean, you could wake up in early morning, you could wake up near a bunch of food, but the range of mechanics presented gives you a good idea of the depth of mechanics that are ahead. Now, depending on where you arrive, you should see some structures ahead. Possibly a big town, maybe a capital city, or maybe just a single house. In which case, you should kill yourself. Anyways, your first goal, gobble all the loot. Some items will be lifesavers, and others will be completely useless pieces of fucking shit that are only useful to toss around to distract.
AoE attack.
The first obstacle besides yourself you'll come across are the infected. These things can kill you in just a few hits, and will sprint towards you as soon as they catch a glimpse. Now the zombies aren't exactly the brightest.
What?
Their AI isn't super sophisticated. They can't climb ladders, they can't open doors, or do anything other than swipe at you, really. They don't really even look for you if you run out of sight. but once they see you, they know exactly where you are at all times, even through walls. This makes fighting one at a time really easy, but dealing with a group can be impossible unless you manage to hop up somewhere high, because these guys can't jump for shit. There are infected variants, however, but they're not super obvious ones. This isn't Dying Light. There are basic civilian infected that sort of just shuffle around until they're alerted. There are sprinters, it's what I call them anyway. These enemies wear a tracksuit or hoodie usually and run around without even being alerted. There are military enemies, which are usually stronger due to their body armor, protection and stuff like that. And on official maps, the further into the map you go, the stronger and more sensitive the enemy can get. Personally, I find it easy to just sneak around these things at the beginning of the game. The infected themselves don't carry a sickness or anything, they can't even infect you. Unlike the other survivors, you can't even eat them. Most sicknesses, such as the flu, can be cured by warmth and Tetris pills. However, a blood infection from eating with blood in your hands is slow, deadly, and incurable. The real enemy, but also the entertainment, really.
Fuck you.
We can be friends if you want. We can just be friends.
But I'm trying to find my way back to my friends. So if you want to be my friend, I'll come with me. Yeah, I got that. Okay.
On big maps like Chernarus, it can be a while before you see a human who isn't undead. So when you do, there's a mixture of feelings that fire with your neurons. You're excited and happy that after so long you have someone to relate to and talk to. But also, if apocalypse media have taught me anything, it's that humans are the real monsters.
I just slit my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it. And you...
DayZ actually has proximity chat, which allows for various hilarious and terrifying moments. The fact that base DayZ also doesn't have a menu system where you can invite someone to a team or something along those lines is great. It makes it feel like a real life scenario, where trusting and befriending people will be based entirely on your own gut. Realistically, they could backstab you at any time, and trust me, I've been backstabbed and have backstabbed. Especially if people don't talk. Some people just don't say a goddamn word. This causes an immediate trust issue. It makes them just super suspicious. No mic, no life. Don't trust someone who doesn't speak. But when you meet someone who does actually talk and matches your energy, it really is something special.
Who started killing them? You? Is it you?
One of them ran off and said, "I'll be right back," and I took the opportunity. That's why I said, "I'll be right back" as well. Because I need to do something.
I did.
At the end of the day, everyone in this game is trying to have fun and just screw around. Some people are boring and take the game super seriously, you know, get really sweaty with it, which is fun now and again. But I gotta tell you, nothing beats meeting a couple strangers on the trail and going on a 3-hour trek that ends in complete tragedy.
I don't want to die. I'm too young to die. No! Stupid bitch!
There's so many different things you can do in this game. Some more useful than others. So many there's no way I can list them all. The mechanics of the game are so in-depth, you have to manually load bullets into a magazine and then shove the magazine itself into the gun. Tedious? Sure, but the game prides itself on its realism, and watching each bullet slide into the magazine makes you more concerned about conserving that bullet. Believe me, there's nothing more satisfying than slowly loading shells into a double-barrel shotgun. Especially if you're a cannibal. We don't really talk about cannibals. People who kill survivors and cut them up, take their meat to eat, bones to craft into knives or hooks, and guts to turn into, like, ropes. If you do decide to become a cannibal, you can say bye-bye to being stealthy and being able to aim. Eating human will give you a disease called Kuru, not a real disease, but it affects you in two ways. Your character will randomly laugh maniacally, which can really screw up if you're trying to, sneak around an area. And your aim will be completely shaky, meaning you can only really rely on things like shotguns. Now, you will die. A lot. Whether it's to the infected, or to the players, or to sickness. It's just a part of the learning curve. A lot of people give up way too quickly and never really get to experience the fun of the game. Just keep playing and experimenting, see what you can craft, what you can do, where you can go. You never really stop learning in this game. I mean, I've learned new crafting recipes an entire year into the game. A good thing to learn from the start is hunting. Most towns will have a few roosters or chickens dotted around. You gotta remember though, cutting any animal up will result in blood on your hands. Figuratively and literally. So if you eat with bloody hands, you will get an incurable blood infection, and your death will be really, really slow. So make sure to wash your hands either well or wear some gloves. Eating raw chicken can also result in sicknesses like salmonella, as this can happen with almost all raw meat in the game. It's just best to make yourself a fire to cook it up and warm yourself up. Fires are super important in the game. If you've been in the rain, getting soaked will weigh you down, meaning you have less stamina to sprint with. But sitting by a fire and putting your clothes by it will dry them off, meaning you have way more stamina to use. Rain can actually degrade clothing too and soak items that are in your inventory. So strip down in front of the fire and let your stuff dry. Plus, you'll get a great little heat buff to your temperature gauge. Now further inland, there will be more towns with more familiar points of interests. PDs, hospitals and gun stores, that sort of stuff. These are good to check for, but I'd hope you are more prepared before heading inland, so you wouldn't have to. This far inland, you'll find even more megafauna and wildlife. Packs of aggressive wolves, sheep and cows, and bears. God, bears.
A fucking bear! No! Oh shit,
The main goal once you get to this stage of the game is finding military locations, camps, convoys, and if you're feeling brave, places like the Northwest Airfield, where all the sweats make bases and ruin the flow of the game for everyone else. Nature of the game, I guess.
Someone's in there. Hello, is someone in here? I'm friendly, but just don't, man. There's no safe way out of this. Anyone else in here? That went very well. I was expecting to die, yeah. SPS. Can we just drop the shotgun? Hey! Who's there? I'm friendly, but if I killed your friend, that'd be shit. Your friend was just kind of standing there. I'm trying, man.
I personally never really base build. It's never really been worth it to me, only ever really worth anything in a permanent group. Going nomad is a wise choice. You're always moving, scavenging and looking for a fight. And there's a ton of guns you can fight with in the game too. Depending on the condition of the gun any of them can jam, or even stop working entirely. So look for a gun cleaning kit so you don't have to get RNG'd mid-firefight. The adrenaline and nervousness you feel getting into a firefight inland is the most amplified feeling I've ever felt in the game. I mean, you have hours under your belt on this run, right? And so does this other player. You both have everything to lose and everything to gain if you get into this fight. And a good game offers good risk and reward, and this is mostly risk. Like the other risks that some points of interest will actually get bombed. Thanks, Obama. An idea clearly stolen from 1944 America. These bombs will land and shake your screen depending on how close you are. The bombs themselves produce a toxic gas, killing anything around, even the infected. And if you get swept up in the storm, you start getting constant cuts in your body and slowly getting poisoned. A good way to avoid this are the NBC suits. Not only do these outfits exist and protect you, but infected NBC scientists tend to wander a bunch of different areas. Both of these little details can tell us two things. One, that there is still some sort of government left out there trying to neutralize the infected threat by force. This is only more clear with the helicopter crashes. Occasionally, when you're inland, a helicopter will plummet to the ground. As if these men got on the helicopter, fine, and all of a sudden became infected on the journey. There are some areas where the gas I mentioned earlier actually sticks around permanently, places like the Big Boat on Chernarus or the airfield on Livonia. Now I have a hunch that whatever infection has spread isn't because of people getting bitten. Like I said, the player never gets infected with the virus after an encounter with infected. We know a toxic gas has been created specifically to kill infected, but can also kill us, but just much slower. What if the heirs were infected people? Perhaps whatever government remains discovered this fact and took samples of the air and used the body of the infection to develop a cure, or more, a way to quickly dispose of the infected. But that's all speculation. Again, speculation. I am the 4,000th person to do that on this website. But whilst the infection theory I came up with isn't confirmed, there is actual lore in this game. I mean, there's certainly still civilization out there. And in a lot of trailers, there are consistent characters. Most notably the two bike helmets, acting as antagonists, and the yellow one being rather important. You should remember him. Hannah is the name of the protagonist in most of the promotional content, with the two bike helmet people crossing her and leaving her for dead. From what we gather, Hannah is searching for a male whose relation is never really explained. So after she gets robbed by the two bike helmet people, she uses a PA system, the most cancerous system in the game by the way, to lure them to a building and kill them. She lures them in an interesting way, reciting a passage from the death of Koichi the Deathless. I probably butchered that name. And what an oxymoron of a name, by the way. She traps them inside the building with infected, assuming they'll be ripped apart. However, a couple years later when the update added the toxic bombs, someone donning a yellow helmet resurfaced in the trailers. We can assume this is the same guy as last time, now without his red friend, and his helmet now damaged, with nails sticking out of it. His intentions are pretty unclear. He and his gang begin hunting down survivors, seemingly searching for something. At first, I wondered if it was Livonia's bunker, but no, he's just looking for the woman who took his friend from him. The man he watched get torn apart by the infected, Hannah. He ambushes her, but sadly fails and receives a stab wound for his efforts. This character wouldn't be spotted again until a recent 10-year anniversary trailer came out, where, strangely enough, his red friend had returned. I would assume this isn't the same one. Maybe just a member of his gang he trusts the most, donning the helmet as his right-hand man. They clear the reworked Northwest airfield, but notice something strange. Snow dropping down. This could be a hint at the possibility of a new official map being created. On the runway this guy's standing on, there is a number that looks eerily similar to an old map on Arma 3. Although I don't know how this map could be snow since it's a tropical island with a volcano. Maybe it's just an optional weather change that's coming to the game. I'm really not too sure. But that's about all that really exists outside of speculation for the game in terms of the lore. The reason why there is so little is because of the obvious. You're meant to make your own. This is one of the most open-ended, varied games ever made. I mean, you can approach so many things in so many ways. Meet people and make bonds, lose people, hate people. This game is yours to build, and that's why DayZ matters to me. That's why I'm excited to see where it's going to go in the future.